Our story today from the Gospel of Mark is the conclusion of the sending out of the 12 from a couple of weeks ago. It opens by saying that the disciples gathered around Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. In my mind, I picture that it was like a group of friends who had not seen each other all summer, reuniting finally on the first day of school. I imagine that they were so excited to see Jesus and each other again, all talking at once, sharing stories, asking questions, energized by all that they had done and experienced in their time apart. However, Jesus was wise. Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest for a while. For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. Jesus knew rest was important. Eating was important. Even if they were excited and energized and maybe even felt that they might not need it yet. This past week in the class I audited, the instructor, Rich Viloras, pastor of a church in Queens, talked, among other things, about the importance of the regular practice of Sabbath. Sabbath, that rhythm of prayer, rest, and restoration that is so important that it features in the story of creation and the Ten Commandments. Rest is a spiritual practice, a sanctifying practice, something that we do that is godlike. Rest is crucial and necessary for action. In balance, at their best, they feed into one another. Unfortunately, our balance of rest and action is so often out of whack, particularly in our busy, nonstop world where we feel we have so much important stuff to do. I would agree with when I have heard it said before that this is the commandment that can be the most difficult to follow. Rest is absolutely integral to our health and flourishing. One of the things that Rich talked about in the discipline of Sabbath was the importance of grace and regularity. With these two things, it does not always have to be perfect to be effective. For example, strange example perhaps, I am a vegetarian. Well, maybe a pescatarian is more accurate. I am a vegetarian that eats some seafood. And the reason I decided to take on what I consider a spiritual practice is because of the environmental impact of meat. For whatever reason a person decides to do this, vegetarians and vegans can have a reputation for being a little judgmental, rigid, and unforgiving about their own practice as well as the practices of others. However, a conversation I have been having and hearing more recently is that it is way more important and impactful to have a greater number of imperfect practitioners than a small number of people who are doing it perfectly, whatever perfect means. The point is, I think the same is true for the practice of Sabbath and rest. We need more imperfect practitioners. When rest is regular in our day, week, and year, it is okay when it doesn't always go according to plan or is interrupted, like in our story today. We skip a little bit in our reading today, the feeding of the 5,000, some healing, but the sense we get from what we have in these last few verses is the same. In their attempt to rest, Jesus and the disciples are found by people. Sometimes it is okay to set those boundaries and commit to your Sabbath or rest. And other times it is okay to be more flexible, to break it. These people were hungry, searching, and Jesus had compassion for them. And so he changed the plan. And it was okay because Jesus regularly practiced rest, prayer, and retreat. The scriptures say so. And that regularity and rhythm, I believe, allowed for the resilience in the face of interruption. It allowed for space for compassion. I don't know about you, but I struggle with Sabbath. I am an imperfect practitioner. And I am looking to September and reflecting and planning to shift my weekly rhythm to renew my rhythms of rest. And I'm trying to have grace with myself in that process, knowing that there will be interruptions, that sometimes it will work or happen, and other times it might not. But I know I need it. As I go away for a few weeks of my annual rhythm of rest, thank you very much, by the way, for supporting and encouraging that for me. I pray that you may have an opportunity to plan, put in place, and practice rest and Sabbath too, in your year, week, and day. Be gracious with yourself. Be an imperfect practitioner. Start with what you can, a week, a day, an hour, or even 10 minutes. Because this too is what it looks like to follow in the way of Jesus. Amen.